Alright guys, TouchGrabber here back again today. Hope you're all enjoying your Sunday, and I've got a few things to discuss over the next few days which I found very interesting. Today I wanted to talk about Aches, I wanted to talk about Lacefield, I wanted to talk about Saints, I wanted to talk about the Los Angeles Guerrillas team because we have a rumour that we have an entirely new starting lineup. We did see that they confirmed Spart and Vivid the Warrior onto their team as kind of in the substitute position, and we talked about how Blast potentially was coming into the team instead of Aches. The question is, it seems like all of those three guys I mentioned, Aches, Lacefield and Saints, are out of the team, going to be replaced by Blast, Spart and Vivid. A huge overhaul of the squad. And the real question is, will we ever see those players, Aches in particular, of course, as a two-time world champion, ever again playing at professional Call of Duty? Has Aches' time run out in terms of him being able to swindle his way onto this team? Because look, we know he's not the best, at least statistics-wise, the best player. He did win the World Championship, of course, in World War II, which wasn't too long ago. But, you know, he's not been the best individual player for a long time. Has his time run out? That's the real question, because they've been doing all this promotion for this event next week in Los Angeles Guerrillas, Los Angeles Optic. And all that comparison, Aches versus Slasher was kind of all the promotion material. Doesn't look like he's even going to be playing now. So let's hop right into it. Like, if you guys enjoy, as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you are new, and let's hop right into this. So first of all, there's the CSGO event going on right now in IM Katowice, and I just thought this was kind of funny, Merck's comment on it, because CSGO keeps on breaking its viewership, not necessarily viewership, it keeps breaking its player records all the time right now. And as Merck says, esports take the fun out of games, thumbs up, referring to this Infinity Ward developer who said several months ago now that esports has taken the fun out of Call of Duty, and that's kind of why we see this game as a really dulled down, not very competitive title. Shows what direction Activision should be taking with a game like Counter-Strike, doing as well as it is despite being 20 years old. Karma says this then thanks Infinite Warfare for the most awful sports this I've ever played in any game ever. Won't get fixed in any sort of way because someone thought Squad Spawn was a good idea. Pretty remarkable. That was obviously in comparison to the first one. And, if you guys, commenting a few days ago, I made that video on which team has the biggest upset potential. A lot of people saying a lot of teams have good upset potential now, maybe because the game isn't in the best competitive state, and I do agree, pretty much in its entirety. So, here we go. This tweet came out from Lacefield just yesterday, at Saints at Aches, what you're doing, Lakers versus Bucks, March the 7th. Kind of saying like, what's going on there? These three are teammates. March the 7th, of course, is the day in Los Angeles where they should have been playing Call of Duty, saying to me that, okay, clearly something's going on here. Los Angeles Guerrillas confirmed this just a couple of days ago that Spart and Vivid are going to be now joining the team. So I've got Ricky over there, I've got Bevels over there, I've got Blast, of course, and Aches, Lacefield, Saints, the rest of the squad being Decimate and Aqua as well. So obviously didn't have the best results the first couple of events of the tournament, or the first couple of events of the season. They had some up and down performances, sometimes they were winning, sometimes they were losing, but not consistent by any means, and not a championship contending squad for sure. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be. However, I think a lot of people have questions, right? Because Aches is a guy on the team where, do you even need this kind of in-game leadership type figure anymore? Obviously, he's had huge impact over the teams he's been on in Call of Duty, but statistically, he hasn't been great. And then there's questions about Lacefield and, Saints' drive, their motivation. Aqua and Decimate, I think, are players you pretty much have to keep if you're going to make roster changes. This is a pretty big one. A 3-player roster swap is a really big deal. Something that I didn't expect to be seeing this early in the season for sure, especially as teams are still figuring out exactly how the game is being played. But then you have this from Cronut CDL Intel, starting Panda, Happy, Vivid, Blast and Spart, benched, Enable 0, so we talked about these changes, Panda for Enable, Happy for 0, but then you've got Vivid, Blast and Spart, all for Aches, Lacefield and Saints, been a very interesting week. And then we also have this, I saw this talked about on the Codcast very recently. Saints benched himself, didn't he? At least that's the rumours. That's what Nameless said on the Codcast. Saints literally might have career-ended himself. What was he thinking? Not sure if they were being serious, but in the Codcast, I'll leave it linked down below for you guys. Enable says, that's what I heard. Nameless says, that's what I heard. Pac-Man's like, that's what I heard as well. Which kind of makes me think there's got to be some truth to it. But, this is just not the move, right? It's not going to end well for these players, especially given you've now given the opportunity to these young guns, Spart and Vivid, to get their foot in the door on the main team and prove that they deserve their spot there. Which really is what makes me think, does Aches legitimately have a chance to come back into this team? Maybe he has more of a chance than Lacefield and Saints in terms of Lacefield and Saints are kind of just You put him in the team for skill. You're not expecting an over... Yeah, okay, Lacefield, you're expecting a bit of like the hype factor, or whatever exactly you want to call that. But yeah, you're expecting that kind of out of Lacefield, but you really got them in the team for just their skill factor. Aches is there more as a, veteran leadership type of... He's got the experience, right? He's a guy that you may want in the team, to be honest, alongside these young guns. That could be plausible. But the question is whether he deserves that spot, or whether you even need that kind of player anymore. Whether Accra and Decimate and the coaching staff can do a good enough job anyway. And maybe Aches, comes into the coaching staff to a degree and helps out on that aspect of the team. I'm sure Aches will find a way to still find himself in a relevant position, whether in coaching or whatever. But are his playing days over? That's your question in the comment section below, because he's not going to be playing at this Los Angeles event from what we know, which is in just a week's time now. So pretty remarkable. It could have been his very last outing in Call of Duty. They play in London, or even if they didn't, they played in Minnesota. So that could have been the very last one he was in. So let's have a look at this then real quick. Aches was in London, actually, I remember, because we had the whole bye-bye Aches chant when they got knocked out. But regardless, this is Aches' career throughout Call of Duty, and it is rather a remarkable one, right? Way back in the day, National Championship 2010, Modern Warfare 2 comes second place, MLG Dallas, Anaheim, all the way back on this Quantic leverage team with Scump on it, TP, Proofy, Fears, some names you guys will recognise if you've been around on the COD scene rather a while. And then we have the Dynasty lineup on this Complexity squad. Aches, TP, Crim, Clayster as the team, into Karma as well when they made that roster change, but... the most dominant team in Call of Duty history. Aches as an individual was a pretty damn good player on this Complexity team, like a 1.0 KD type of player. Sometimes he even had better performances than that, 1.1, 1.2. Crim and Clayster and Crim and Karma were unbelievable, and TP was also putting up decent numbers as well, which meant this team was just unstoppable at the time, and they were the real villains of the scene. And this was the whole Aches versus Scump kind of Optic versus Complexity drama that really started things up. It was just a fantastic time for Call of Duty, to be honest. A lot of people would consider this the golden days, when it wasn't so big and, didn't have as many investors, and maybe it was a little bit more exciting in terms of drama and rivalries. And Aches really knew how to play up to that, and yeah, he really knew what to do to take advantage of the drama and the rivalries, and it was a real large impact. If you guys have been around a while, you'll know that Aches was a big reason why Call of Duty became what it is today, because he became the villain with the Optic, the Scump, nade shot versus Aches kind of drama and rivalry that's happened over all of these years. And it continued really into the end of Ghost. Finally, they went on to Evil Geniuses, then things kind of fell apart, and in the early FaZe Clan days of the Advanced Warfare seasons, well, they had a couple of decent results, but this is when Aches individually, in Ghost he was a good player, Black Ops 2 was a decent player. In Advanced Warfare, his game kind of fell off, but he still, preserved his status pretty much at the top of Call of Duty, given, obviously not the best results, but given his, his experience, and he was playing on this TCM team, which is kind of interesting. But Advanced Warfare and the Jetpack games were just not the best for him in terms of his, his play style. It doesn't really work so well in these really fast-paced, cracked-out titles, and we've seen this over the last few years as well. Modern Warfare, of course, is another pretty good example. You can slide, you can do all this sprint cancel type of stuff that we've seen so far in this title, which means that it's really not a good game for a guy like Aches or a guy like Jacob. He kind of played more traditional Call of Duty. However, a good game for them was World War II, as we'll look at in just a second. So Aches kind of had this downtime period. This is where the Optics, of course, took over, and we had that whole redemption arc, I suppose, of the Optic Gaming team. But then Aches came back with his own redemption arc. So through Black Ops 3 wasn't the best team. Of course, the Cloud9 squad, where he knocked out Optic Gaming at the World Championships, who were considered the odds-on favourite to win it. Even though they got knocked out in the next round, that's when he was playing back here with Lacefield. So pretty remarkable. And Ricky's on the kind of the coaching staff over at the LAG as well. So definitely some names that go back a while. Infinite Warfare also didn't have much success. So the entirety of the Jetpack era, apart from this 100 Thieves thing, which is kind of cool that they did for a while, nothing really happened that much. However, World War II things started to turn around. So we got on this Evil Geniuses team. He switched up the squad halfway through the season. This is when you really kind of see how Aches is the master swindler. He managed to get himself an absolute bag on this Evil Geniuses squad. And Abe was talking in the podcast, so I think it was Nameless actually talking in the podcast, the Codcast even, that they basically just set their own salaries. They just made what they wanted. And Aches made his way through here, managed to swindle this roster change of getting Assault and Tilly instead of Nameless and Enable. And then they came second at Seattle, didn't have the best result, but him and Bevels really revolutionized the way you play S&D in that game. and went on to win the Call of Duty World League Championship, 3-0ing Optic to make it happen. This was really the completion of the redemption arc, given that Aches as an individual hadn't been great for the last 3 years. He stepped up his game in World War II, and winning the World Championship to get his second ring was just absolutely monumental. I think it's one of the greatest moments in Call of Duty history, to be honest, given how the whole arc and the storyline has progressed. However, since then, hasn't been so pretty. Like, on this Team Envy team last season, they were expected to be pretty damn decent. Nothing really happened for them. Poor results. London, they came 4th, but that was the best they managed. And then into this season, on this Los Angeles Guerrilla squad, it hasn't been going so great. And you can see a clear trend. Games that play kind of slow, more traditional. World War II was a very traditional boots on the ground COD in terms of you set up on the head glitch, you set up on the power position, you kill kind of quickly, and you just sit there. Whereas in this game, there is a lot of pace involved. We saw it in Black Ops 4. There's probably a similar amount of pace in Modern Warfare as there is in other games. You can't play slow. You have to run around the map. The sliding, the movement mechanics make it like so, make it so that you have to play in that really fast-paced style. World War II didn't have the same degree of you can abuse the movement to that same level, which is why Aches was a solid player in my opinion. However, these latest Call of Duties haven't suited his style at all, and in terms of individual talent and in terms of statistics, he's been nowhere near a good level, right? And the question is now, especially given how FaZe are playing without an IGL type figure, they just have, 5 incredibly fast, cracked out type of players that have played S&D for a year and have been great in these faster paced Call of Duties. You've now got those guys in the game. Is Aches a player you even need in the league, right? And that's a big question, because this is obviously an incredibly legendary player. He's been around the scene for a very long time, was a huge impact. Of course, you had Scump and Nature and all of that. They were huge in building Call of Duty. But Aches was, if there was no Aches in the scene, if there was no, Parasite, I suppose, in the scene to be the target of the hatred and the villainy and the reason why people would tune into these early games to see that rivalry develop, Call of Duty wouldn't be what it is today, in my opinion. So Aches is an absolutely huge influence on Call of Duty over his career. It would be sad to see him go out like this. Losing at London, they came 7th. It was hardly impressive, right, at that event. But regardless, is his time up? He clearly isn't playing great. It's going to be difficult to see a team that he can slot into where realistically, he's going to improve the squad, right? I'm sure he could still bring a lot to young teams. But, is it required anymore? Are we moving into this new era of Call of Duty where in-game leadership type figures just aren't required to the same degree, especially on a game that plays pretty damn fast-paced like Modern Warfare? Who knows? Next year's Call of Duty probably going to be a Black Ops 5 or something. That's probably not going to fit Aches' style particularly well either, even if it is a more traditional Black Ops game like kind of Black Ops 2. We'll just have to see. But, the young guns of Call of Duty are just taken over. It's difficult to see Aches staying relevant for too long. Who knows whether he gets back into this squad, because there's a big switch up here. If Vivid and Spark play well and kind of prove their worth, it's possible that Aches comes back in terms of that mentorship, leadership type role if they prove themselves to be great slayers. The other guys, I'm not even sure. What's your thoughts? Is Aches' time in Call of Duty over? Is he going to retire coming forward and then get some other role in Call of Duty or in esports more generally? I'm sure he would fit into that kind of role great. I'd love to see him on the desk or something like that. Which it's kind of sad to see a career of such legendary value and such legendary prestige really in Call of Duty come to an end like this. Intrigued to hear your thoughts. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always. I'll see you next time.